Before starting today's episode, I wanted to have a quick word with you. You see, I always try to have strange and wonderful subjects for the show. I think today's subject is very wonderful, but it might be strange in a bit of a different way than what we do usually. Death is not an easy subject to touch on, and a few of the images from today might make the most sensible a little bit uncomfortable. I assure you the point is not to be gruesome, and it all builds, I think, to something very positive, and I hope you find it interesting. With that said, on with the show. Ladies, gentlemen, greetings, and welcome to the Kinetoscope Parlour, where we meet strange and wonderful people. I'm your host, Baron Celsius von Fahrenheit, and today I'm meeting Elizabeth Sixx, the artist behind Beauty from Decay. Welcome to the Kinetoscope Parlour.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us what Beauty from Decay is exactly?
Well, to put it short, I work with roadkill. I make things out of animal bones.
You make what kind of things?
I make jewelry, I do shadow boxes, I also do some taxidermy work. It really depends on what I'm working with and what my imagination and intuition bring me to.
And where do you get these animal bones?
Well, roadkill is my main source of materials, and you can find any kind of animal bone as roadkill because there's many species that are in our province. I also get things from hunters, trappers. I find stuff everywhere. You'd be surprised where you can find bones.
Do you look for certain animals or animal sizes in particular, or do you use anything?
I have a soft spot for canines and other carnivores, but I work with bear, seal, partridge, pheasant, moose, porcupine, deer, rabbit, bobcats, otter. I'll work with just about anything. You
seem to work mostly with bones, and carcasses found in nature are seldom just bones. How do you get them clean?
When I find a body, I bring them back to the body farm, where they rot down naturally with the help of scavengers and my little decomposer friends, as I call them, flies, maggots, beetles, all sorts of little creatures that come and feed on the dead. Once they're stripped of all their flesh and they're down to bone and mummified tissues, then I bring them out. I put them in water buckets to soak the mummified matter off, and then once that's done, I scrub them with a brush, a little bit of soap, just to really scrub them off good. Sometimes I'll use a bit of bleach in the water solution as well, and then they sit out on racks or boards in the sun to air, to dry out, to sun bleach a bit. And then after that, I bring them back in the house and I scrub them with some more soap and water, and then they get a peroxide bath to further disinfect and whiten.
So you have your own body farm?
Yes.
What do your friends and neighbors and family think about all this?
Well, where I live a little bit farther away from other people, the neighbors, honestly, I don't think they know what goes on up here. And if they do, they may be a little bit weirded out by it. But my friends and family, they're all very accepting of what I do.
And you sell these things you create?
I do.
You sell them online, at events?
A bit of both. I have a shop on Etsy, and I also set up at local crafting events, and my biggest event that I set up at is the annual Seacoast Trail Arts Association exhibition and sale.
And who exactly is interested in buying these things? Are all your customers goth kids?
No. I think I've maybe only had one visible goth buy my objects. It's mostly older people, which is surprising that you think it'd be more modern jewelry, be younger people, but it's usually the older generation that really appreciates the different things, a lot of very artsy people.
And when they first see your creations at events or such things, how do people usually react?
They either absolutely love it or they don't understand it. I find a lot of the older people understand it a lot easier because they grew up in a different generation and they remember their grandmothers from the Victorian era having lockets of their grandmother's hair, little bones, teeth, different little mementos that the Victorians did. So they're of a different generation that understands that.
You create from dead things, and death is something most people are not very comfortable with. Is there a message or an ideology that you're trying to get through your work?
There is, that it's more of an acceptance of death and a remembrance and honoring of the dead. It's beauty from decay is a literal statement that I make things out of those that have decayed, and it's bringing the beauty. In a way, I'm making the animals that I work with immortal, in a sense. Their beauty's going to long outlive even most of us, and it's going to be treasured by everybody. And to be honest, a lot of the animals I work with have died very violent, tragic deaths, especially the roadkill and the animals who are trapped. So what I'm doing is I'm ensuring that the last memory that is had of that animal is not had by the people who killed them, whether accidentally or intentionally, but that it's going to be a very happy memory that celebrates their life and their beauty through art and the people who treasure them.
I have a very hard time picturing how you came to do this kind of thing. Did you just see a raccoon on the side of the road and think, maybe I should turn this into a necklace?
Well, it started at a very young age. I've always been very fascinated by death because I had a lot of pets growing up and they'd pass away and things like that. So it was the process of life and death. The life cycle has always intrigued me. And when I was probably about 6 or 7 years old, I had my first encounter with bones. And it was horse teeth that were sticking up out of the mud. And they kind of looked like little gremlin faces, and it scared me. But then my mother said, no, it's just horse teeth. So we collect them up, and I would stare at them for hours in a bottle. Well, fast forward till I'm in high school, I take art class. And one of my teachers had skulls and bones and taxidermy all over the walls, all over the shelves. And I draw still life. And some of these animals, they were a bit ripped, they were old and worn out. The peacock had his head hanging by a thread, literally. So I took it upon myself to sacrifice my lunch hours to clean every bone, to fix up the taxidermy. It wasn't anything that I was graded upon, I just felt to do this for the animals. And that's where it started. I brought in some squirrel skulls and mouse skulls that my mice had caught and decorated them in art class, and then it just went outwards from there.
It's quite obvious you really like animals. So for your geek question, I'd like you to tell us, if you were a Disney animal sidekick, which one would you be?
I'd say they would have to be from the movie Bambi, and it would either be Thumper or Flower. Bambi's two best friends, the rabbit and the skunk.
And
it'd be one of those.
Why would that be?
Well, I found the animation was very cute. They made the animals adorable, and especially the skunk, where they made him so happy-go-lucky, where skunks are very stinky and most people are scared of them. They made skunks very popular and happy creatures. They portrayed them in a very good light.
That makes perfect sense. So thank you very much for joining us. What you do is extremely interesting.
Thank you.
That's all for today. I'm Baron Stencil von Fahrenheit, telling you to stay weird, and we shall meet again at the Kinetoscope Parlour. Hi guys, Alex here. Hope you liked the show. As I said at the beginning, it's a bit different from what I usually do, but I really wanted to do this episode. I actually met Elizabeth the first time I went to the Time Travelers Reunion. If you don't know what that is, check out the previous episode. That's the subject, and you're probably gonna like it. And like I said, I met her there and we talked a little bit, and she told me what she was doing, and I found that very interesting. And when I decided to do the show a couple of months later, I knew if I ever went back there, I wanted to do an episode on her. And we combined all this with our vacations, because both Sherbrooke Village and Elizabeth's home are something like 14 hours from where I live. So in between visiting the Halifax Citadel and doing the Cabot Trail, we stopped at the home of this girl, looked at bones for an afternoon, and visited her body farm and the pet cemetery. I don't talk about it in the episode, but she has a pet cemetery in which she put a lot of research, work, and love, and it shows. And honestly, it was just as interesting as anything else we did during our vacation. Even if I wasn't doing a show on it, I would have been very glad to see all this. She has very interesting views on life and death, and I hope I got this through in the video, even though we barely scratched the surface of all that. But so yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you soon for another episode. Bye.